to the channel. Have a look. There it is, fantastic. So the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 5 of the PlayStation RS2 Championship on Race Spec Esports. We are here for the Singapore Grand Prix at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, a 5-kilometer, 23-turn racetrack, best known for being the first ever night race in Formula One history, also very well known as basically this championship's endurance race. It is the longest race on the calendar, if you don't include safety cars or wet weather or anything else that might slow the race down. It's definitely a test of endurance for the drivers in terms of their mental capability, as you're always inches away from the race ending walls around here. Quite a typical technical street circuit with very few overtaking opportunities. Probably the best ones you've got are located at turns 1 and turn 7, simply due to the fact they have DRS zones immediately before them. Rest of the track pretty much follow the leader sort of stuff. Not too much in terms of racing goes on around here, but we can see our fair share of drama. Sometimes the most dramatic races of the season can happen here at Singapore, but for the most part the racing isn't completely eventful. But maybe I'm wrong for tonight's race, as the drivers are now pulling out of their garages to begin the qualifying session. 16 drivers for tonight's race. Not a full grid, but we're pretty close to it. A fairly healthy field, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't see a few drivers drop out due to retiring. Quite a common sight to see around this technical racetrack. I believe the first driver out is Isaac Kush in the Red Bull. Didn't have the strongest performance in Pacific Tier 1, if I remember correctly. Had a dreadful night due to getting damaged, making errors, dropping down the field. I believe he recovered on to at least a top 5. I'm going to have to re-watch that, see what the results were. But I know Izzat didn't have a particularly good race earlier in the week. I'm sure he'll be hoping to recover from his lackluster performance. But tell you what, we probably should talk about the championship as well. We're 1/3 of the way through round 5 of 15, if I remember correctly. Rain towards the end of the race. Oh, great. Like I said, this is the longest race on the calendar, and we got rain. Rain. I wish rain could leave us alone for once. It's not fair. This race already takes forever, and now we've got rain on the horizon. But oh well, it's like this. While the standings are loading up for me, we'll ride on board with Isaac Kush. We'll take us on a lap of this 5-kilometer racetrack, heading down the pit straight towards turn 1. See, he hugs the right-hand side of the racetrack on the entry to try and open up the corner up as much as he can. Out to turn 3, then 4. A little left-hand kink after the hairpin, that's turn 4. Through turn 5, 5th gear, 6, 7th gear, round turn 6, 8th gear into turn 7, where we will see most of our overtakes. Uses all of the curb on the outside, all of the runoff area, I should say. Through turn 8, then turn 9, 4th gear. Misses the apex ever so slightly, but I don't think they'll compromise him too much. Into the Singapore Sling. On the original layout, this was quite the brutal part of the racetrack. A narrow, very bumpy chicane due to the massive sausage curbs at the apexes through that chicane. It would often send cars airborne into the tyre barrier once they go through it. Into turn 14, hard on the brakes. Rotates nicely, uses a little bit of the runoff area on the left-hand side. Now turn 16, 17, we're into the cascade of 90-degree corners in this third sector. 18 underneath the grandstand, turn 19, fourth gear, probably didn't take it exactly how they would have wanted. Turns 20 and 21, then into the final two corners, 22 and 23. Izzat is going to cross the line and do a 1 minute 33.253. There's a Haas crossing the line, it is Leo. There's a 33.9 in reply. There's a McLaren just about to begin a flying lap. Rhythms has invalidated. Contrast has just started, one coming through turn 9 now, sort of in the mist of the second sector. Izzat Kush slowing down to try and let cars through. It seems that was the cause of the yellow flags just then. He's in the pits. Alex invalidated. Well, that gaming wafer, he's invalidated as well. So we'll keep our eye on high contrast for now. His teammate is in front, but I'm pretty sure Rhythms did indeed invalidate. I'll just double check that. Yes, he has. Stay with contrast for now. Just as soon as contrast finishes his lap, we'll go through the championship standings. In the Drivers' Championship, it is ACW who is currently leading the way on 81 points. He is 23 points ahead of GeForce F1 Wogboy, currently on 58. Plebs is in a solid third on 55 points, so he is only 3 behind Wogboy. Izzat Kush is in 4th place on 45 points, with IFR Ace in P5 on 42 points. That pretty much sums up the top of the table. It's then quite the jump, 11 points down to Prime in the other Alfa Romeo on 31, then iContrast 26. And just briefly looking at the constructor standings, with both Alfa Romeos up there in the top 6, it means that they are leading the Constructors' Championship on 112 points. P2 is AlphaTauri on 69. It's quite a big margin between the top two. 43 points if my math is correct, so quite a big margin. Then Red Bull are in 3rd on 66, then Haas and Renault are tied on 58 apiece. They share P4 and P5. But it's not too much of a concern, the championship, as of right now. Still a long way to go, but can't help but think in certain championships, when it comes down to the wire, races like this can really disfigure or form a championship fight right towards the end, particularly on a racetrack like this. Incredibly technical, incredibly demanding. It's even worse in the wet. It is. You have to crawl around there, try and not crash into a barrier or into anyone, generally speaking. It's just a brutal racetrack. I don't know of too many people who enjoy racing around here. Driving, I could understand that. Singapore might have a bit of a flow to it. But in terms of racing around here, it's just brutal. I wouldn't say it's as brutal as Monte Carlo, though. Only a couple more drivers have set lap times. Ace and Trap Formula have set times. Ace has done a 34 flat. Trap Formula a 34.8. By contrast, 35.2 effectively. They're not quite representative times, I would think. I'm sure they have plenty of more pace to show, as Alex uses far too much runoff at the exit there at turn 7. He went in a bit too hot there, overshot the corner, had to use the runoff to keep the car under control. Fortunately, he hasn't invalidated, coming through the Singapore sling. 3rd gear, 2nd gear to get that extra rotation over the Anderson Bridge and into the tight hairpin of turn 13. Missed the apex though by quite a bit there, by a good 1 or 2 meters there. But still, there's a fair amount of time left in the session in order for these guys to set a bit more respectable lap times. Though, I wish I could go that quickly around Singapore. If I could do a 34.8, I'll be pretty happy with that. And here comes Alex. Coming up to the final 2 corners of the racetrack. It's going to be a 34.7. Now, considering how many mistakes he made on that lap, he can find quite a considerable amount of time. So it's looking good for Alex and for Red Bull generally, as they're currently 1st and 4th, but still a lot of drivers need to set a lap time. Pleds in 11th as Leo. Illegal blocking. Did I read that correctly? Illegal blocking. Of what? It's not pit exit. If it was illegal blocking at pit exit, he would have been disqualified. Illegal blocking. Huh. And that's a 5 grid place penalty. Oh, that's new. I haven't seen that one come out before. So what, the game believed he was impeding a car on a flying lap, and as a result he's been given a 5 grid place penalty? I have no idea how he's gotten that. As Pleds, dearie me, mate, in his frustration and perhaps, ooh, I don't know about that one, Chief. Then again, it's only in qualifying. There was no one for him to endanger, but still, should never ever reset the circuit, ever. Contrast has left the session. Hopefully he'll be able to Rhythm's coming through turn 5 now. Uses a track width quite nicely through 5. It's always a good idea to maximize the width of any racetrack you go to, but particularly here at Singapore, as there is a great abundance of runoff area on the inside and outside of the corner. So in order to be competitive around here, you have to utilize every inch of track you can find. It's a bit like Sochi Autodrome in Russia. Traditionally on the game, it's a track where you have to cut absolutely everything. It's the only way you can stay competitive around a track like that. And it's the same here at Singapore. Rhythm's really pushing on the exit there. A lot of wheel spin. Kept it under control though, or relatively under control. Around turn 14. Through 15, then immediately into turn 16 and 17. Again, trying to use as much of the track as you can. On a set of mediums as well. Be interested to see what the German can do coming up through turns 20 and 21, and that is quite costly in validation. He just cut way too much there at turn 20, but that's the brutal reality of this racetrack. It demands you to cut everything, but if you stray even a little bit too far over, even though you haven't really gained any sort of advantage, the game will come down on you like a bag of bricks, give you a warning and send you back into the pits. So for Rhythms, his game plan is probably wait till the end of the session and try and set a flying lap then, when their track conditions are the most ideal. As ACW is making his way through the final sector, our championship leader negotiates turn 20, but turn 21 was a bit squirrely. Around the final 2 corners, it's going to be a 33.9. He jumps to the front row on a set of mediums, though Leo has replied with a 33.5. Still 3/10 off our current pole sitter, Isaac Kush. And it's not great for Leo, as he has a 5 grid place penalty for illegal blocking, which is, yeah, definitely one of the oddest penalties I've ever seen. Wafer has invalidated. Wait a minute. Why was that AlphaTauri just stopped at pit entry? Did I miss something there? I wonder. I thought I might have saw a car just sort of crashed at pit entry, but I might be wrong. Anyhow, BPV8 in the Renault, making his way through the final sector now. Roscoe Arm is coming to the end of the second sector. We'll go with him in just a moment. Negotiates turn 21 pretty well there, BP. Around the final 2 corners, it's going to be a 33.8. Jumps to P3 with just under 4 minutes left in the session. Roscoe Arm has elected to pull out of his flying lap, it seems. He's going to do another out lap of sorts, try and set another flying lap. He does have a Haas behind him. It is Leo. I believe Leo is on an in lap. Maybe he is pushing. I do believe he's on an in lap. We'll see in just a moment. Yeah, he is. He's pulling off to the side now. Now Roscoe Arm begins another flyer. He's done a 37.2. Lots of drivers still in the pits waiting to go out for their final flyers. Roscoe Arm through turn 4 into turn 5. Again, maximising track width. He went down to 0 ERS and he's kept it in 0 ERS. Is he doing another sort of outlap of sorts? Because he's not using any of his battery here. What is the McLaren's game plan? What is it? Taleb's about to begin a flying lap. He does have a Ferrari behind. Must be eye contrast, seeing as Rhythms is in the pit lane. Now coming out of it, there is a train of cars coming out of the pits with just over 2 minutes left in the session. The Pleb's currently 17th as Rage has decided to come and race. Oh, and that is a costly yet elementary invalidation there. It's cut too much of the corner. Very, very easy to do, but in a way very easy to avoid as well. But he's backing off completely. I don't think there's a smart, as everyone here isn't on a flyer, but Jeff won't tell you such a thing. That's a really annoying bit about the race engineer in this game. In any of the Formula 1 games, in fairness, it doesn't give you any sort of information whatsoever. So you have no idea who's on a flying lap and who isn't on a flying lap. If Jeff had an IQ that was higher than, say, I don't know, a walnut, then he'll be able to tell you who's on a flying lap and who isn't. But unfortunately, we don't have that here. So you can see there, Pleb's probably doing the wise thing, letting everyone through, because he doesn't know which one of those drivers is on a flyer or on an outlap. And I think he has enough time left in the session to at least try and set a flying lap. Speaking of which, Rage in the Williams on a flyer. Swedish driver making his way over the Anderson Bridge now, 5th gear. He'll go down to 2nd, missed the apex ever so slightly, but not too much. And only at 50% throttle, so he's just preparing himself for the final flying lap as well. Right at the end of the session, Roscoe Arm up by 1 second on his current personal best. So Roscoe Arm's game plan would suggest do some mediocre laps and wait for the timer to run out, then set his proper flying lap right at the end of the session. Oh, but he's pushed a little too hard at turn 19, missed the apex of 20. He pushed too hard into turn 20 to try and compensate for 19. Round the final 2 corners to set a 1:35.163. Not a bad lap time, but he might have been able to crack into the top 10 if he didn't make that mistake in the final sector. Gaming way far, making his way through the 2nd sector. Now, who will be the leading car in this trade? It is Alex Parto. What is the car behind him? Can we see from here? No, I know it's a Red Bull though. Is it Alex? It's Alex, and he's purple to the 2nd sector. His teammate has pulled off to the side. His qualifying session is done. Is that? Qualifying session is done. You can see him pull off to the side there in the 2nd sector. So he will not be improving. What about his teammate? Round the final sector. Keep an eye on Alex as well in 12th. Where does he jump to? He doesn't jump up any positions as Alex jumps up 1. Actually, both Alex Parto and Alex Bondo. Oh, that completely went over my head. Eye contrast is pulled out of a flying lap. Rhythms Sets a flying lap, does a 35.9. Wogboy slows down as well, goes P12. So these guys are trying to start 11th. iContrast is currently in that spot. They don't want pole, they want to start P11 from the looks of things. As I believe ACW in 3rd place on a set of mediums. That's an awesome lap time. But both racing points in the garage. Rage is not going to set a flying lap. It would seem his session is done. There we go. Isaac Kush will be starting on pole position. He will have ACW alongside, as Leo has a 5 grid place penalty for illegal blocking. So he'll be starting in 7th place, buried well inside the top 10. Then it'll be IFR Ace. He'll be starting in 3rd, BP in 5th, Gaming Wayphone 6th. Then Leo, Prime in Prime in P6, then Leo P7, Trap in P8, Alex Bomberg in 9th, and Plebs rounds out the 10. On a set of mediums as well. So two drivers inside the top 10 will be starting on the medium compound. The rest of the drivers inside the 10 will be starting on the softs. As you can see here, and as you can see, a 5 grid place penalty for Leo. That is going to be a massive penalty in regards to the race, simply due to the track conditions, with it being such a difficult circuit to overtake. So it'll be Izat, ACW, Ace, BP, Wafer, then Leo, Prime P6, then Leo, Trap Formula, Alex Bomberg, then Plebs rounds out the 10, with both Plebs and ACW starting on the medium compound tyre. It'll be interesting to see what the drivers outside the tent elect to do. I know I have information saying that it's going to rain towards the end. Will that influence drivers outside the top 10 to start on the hard compound tyre? Try and stretch those until the rain becomes heavy enough, so then you can put on the intermediate tyre. Or if it doesn't get heavy enough, you can chuck on the soft tyre, and then you'll be on the best tyre for the conditions, because if it is going to rain, track will get slippery. But if it doesn't get wet enough so then it's intermediate conditions, then you want to be on the grippiest tyre available, and obviously that's the soft. It'll be very, very interesting to see what happens for those 8 drivers outside the 10. The drivers will be selecting what kind of setup they want. I don't think we'll see anyone alter their qualifying setups until right at the end of the race, when we see those pit stops, potentially for the intermediate tyre. Then we might see a couple of drivers just turn up their wing angle just a little bit to get that extra downforce. It will be interesting to see what the drivers outside the 10 decide to go with. I don't think any of them will be choosing the soft tyre. It will either be mediums or hards. It's just a matter of who has gone with what. Here we go, loading up onto the grid. Formation lap will begin. Let's have a look-see. Interesting. Very interesting. So, iContrast will be starting from P11 on the hard compound tyre. Alongside him is Roscoe Arm. He's also starting on the hard tyre. GeForce Wogboy in 13th place, starting on the hard compound. Alex Pato alongside, also on the hard compound. Rhythms in 15th place on the hard compound. Spilly, 16th, starting on a set of softs. This is a bit of an audacious move from the Racing Point, but it may pay dividends. I'm not sure though. It might work, it might not work. And he must have joined in late because that is Sergio Perez's car with the number 11 on it. His teammate, the Finn Jon Palainen, starting 17th on the hard compound, 7th Rage, and 18th place on the hard compound as well. So it's been a bit of a strategic game for these guys in the midfield, wanting to start in roughly 11th place, get the best track position possible for the free selection of tyre. By contrast, got the best out of it. So in terms of the weather conditions, in terms of the weather report, he is ideally placed. However, it's not like a race will go that straightforward. There is a fair chance we might see a safety car or a virtual safety car that might bring the medium runners like ACW and Plebs or any of the soft runners in the top 10 to bring them into a race winning position. So although these guys are fairly ideally placed on the hard compound, knowing that it's going to be raining at the end doesn't mean it's going to be a straightforward race for these guys. And if these guys get damaged, it's going to be a long race for all of the guys on the hard compound. It's going to be very long indeed. So everyone is lining up into their respective grid slots and we can get this race underway. 31 long and excruciating laps await us here at Singapore. Izzat Kush is ready to go. So is ACW on the front row. Izzat on the racing line. But here we go. We have 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. Izzat on the soft compound tyre should get a better start. And does get a better start. In fact, Ace overtakes ACW into turn 1. But what about the midfield? They go in 2 by 2, going through turns 2 and 3. Coming out of it. Oh, the McLaren half spins. That's Trap Formula. He had a bit of a moment on the exit. Managed to gather it back up. And here come the midfield through turn 5. It appears everyone has gotten through relatively okay. Contrast has lost a couple of positions. Rhythms, I believe, up a couple of positions. Oh dear, Spilly is lagging a little bit here on the screen. Right on board with the Ferrari. Spilly up into 10th place. That is the start he needed on that soft compound. He needed to get past all of the hard runners. He has done exactly that. He is now with the top 10. Trap Formula putting a bit of pressure on Alex. There might have been a move there, but he didn't commit to any sort of attack. Just stayed in behind Alex for now. Heading through turn 14. All the drivers just following each other in this nice train. Prime on the back of the gaming wafer. Coming through this technical third sector. Just want to look here. Position changes. So yeah, the biggest winner easily is Spilly, up 6 positions. Biggest loser is Roscoe, arm down 3 from 12th down to 15th place as we had the typical lap 2 glitch. Sector 3 yellow flags. That is Alex Pato, is it? No, it's Jon Palainen. No, it's Spilly. Spilly has spun round at the final corner. Gets it going again. But all that hard work on the first lap, down the drain. Now, long way behind the pack. As BP gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Izzat Kush still doing a fine job in the lead. He's got a little bit of a gap to Ace. And both the top 2 drivers have got some margin to ACW in 3rd. Then it's BP with his first penalty of the night in 4th. Gaming Wafer in 5th. He's got the Finn Prime all over the back of him. Leo is following suit, same with Alex Bomberg. Trap Formula and Plebs fairly close together, heading towards turn 14. But no one really in a position to attack just yet. We'll keep an eye on this though. This is where the action will most likely take place within this group of 4 or so cars. Underneath the grandstand towards turns 20 and 21. See there, Leo really cutting the racetrack. Oh, that was a bit of a lag spike there, if I ever saw one. Around the final corner. Now DRS is enabled. Can Prime launch any sort of attack as Trap Formula is in the pits? Must be getting a wing change. Must have got damage at some point. See the leaders coming through turn 6. Then it's Wafer Prime sitting right behind, not close enough to attack though. Alex is applying pressure to the Haas of Leo in front. As they head through turn 8 now. Leo not too phased by Alex sort of antics there. You can see Alex just weaving to the inside, showing the nose as Trap has made an error at turn 2 and has got more wing damage on that McLaren. He'll have to get that replaced, I assume. I don't think he'll fight on with that sort of damage. Wogboy in contrast, fairly close together, heading towards turn 14. Ferrari sitting at P10 and P11 at the moment, leading the hard train. Roscoe Arm, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Then we see the soft train here, led by the Gaming Wafer. BP has just overtaken ACW as ACW is in. The Alfa Romeo is in the pits. This isn't a planned pit stop, and oh, the Red Bull mechanics are getting ready as well. What has happened? Front wing change, must have got damage at some point. But on goes a new wing and hard compound tyres, and away he goes. Alex and Leo making pit stops. Going on to a set of hards and mediums respectively. Rothko Arm on the attack. Down the inside into turn 7. Fortunately don't make contact. We're right on board with Rage as he almost makes contact with Roscoe Arm. As Jean Paulin is just behind his Trap Formula has crashed at the final corner while trying to head into pit lane. Fortunately there's no safety car, so no massive worries there. As Isaac Kush gets his first penalty of the night, 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. But now Prime leads this train of 3 cars. Plebs on those mediums, they would feel quite a bit better than those softs right now. After about 3 or so laps, those soft tyres really do begin to feel awful. And into the pits goes the Gaming Wafer. Wogboy trying to catch up and pass iContrast as they head their way through turn 3. Through turn 5 now. Fairly close, so is Plebs. He's on the attack, overtaking Prime for 4th place, well before the braking zone. Here comes Wogboy. He might go for a send here, he will. Into turn 7. They give each other the space. Into turn 8, they're still side by side. Can Wogboy get a switchback? No. iContrast holds on to P7 for now. But Wogboy has got some speed underneath him. He's got a bit of confidence as well. Just needs to try and commit to a move. At the moment, not a great deal else is going on the racetrack right now. Leo and Wafer are fairly close together. They're heading towards the Singapore Sling. Just behind is ACW. That's how much the wing change has cost ACW, right at the back of the field. He'll need to reach deep into his natural talent, try and claw back a result here. Wafer and Leo get out. Ace is in the pits. It'll be interesting to see what the Danish driver will go with. It's a set of hard tyres. No, set of mediums. I was looking at the wrong garage. Set of mediums goes on to the Haas Formula 1 car. An interesting call here. Come out in front. Prime in the pits as well. Same with Rage. Swedish driver must have damage. That's the only reason why you'd be coming in. Yep. Destroyed front wing. Off it comes. On goes a new one. Set of mediums as well. Wafer applying pressure to Leo as they come towards turn 7. Can he go deeper on the brakes? Yes, he can. He can't pull it up, though. Leo shoots back on by. Wafer has the inside line for turn 8, but he can't do much with it, as Leo should get and does get better traction at the exit of turn 8. He will maintain P12 for now. Heading through the Singapore Sling. ACW is gaining over the Anderson Bridge. Wafer, big send down the inside, and they make contact. And here comes ACW. He's got a slightly better run. Uses DRS and overtake, weaving from both Leo and Wafer there. Probably a bit angry at each other, I'm not sure. As BP and Izzat are now into the pits, making Plebs our new race leader. They're going on to sets of medium tyres as well. Wafer pushing the limits there. Alex, fastest lap with a 38.9. Currently in P10. BP comes out in P11 in front of this train, which is quite critical for his race. He needs to be in front of this train. He can't be battling in it. It'll cost him too much time. And now the field's starting to spread. No drivers close together at the moment. Izzat now is worth of penalties. This isn't looking good for Izzat. Needs to keep those to a minimum. His main rival, IFR Ace, is yet to score a penalty. He's currently in front of Izzat Kush as well. Did Izzat have a wing change by chance? Might explain some things. No, he did not. Interesting. So Ace just found a way past Izzat somehow. Has now got track position. Needs to make full use of this track position and hold up Izzat as much as he can. Or if he's got good enough car speed, try and pull away. Izzat's performance in qualifying showed how quick the Red Bull driver is around here. As Ace sets fastest lap with a 1 minute 38.5. Pretty respectable lap times being displayed in race conditions. Prime on the back of Leo as they head through turn 3. Ooh, and Izzat might go for an overtake here. They're going to go side by side into turn 7. Looking around the long way is Izzat. They give each other enough room. Into turn 8. A bit contact there. Just before the apex at turn 8. But Izzat retakes the effective lead. pulling in just in front on a set of hard tyres. Izzat needs to find a way past, and he's going to go for a move here down the inside of the hairpin. Gets it done. Ace will try and follow. Here we go. And Ace has got it done into P8. But yes, there's still a bit of a question mark for these guys on the hard tyre, whether or not they'll make it when the rain comes. And where will they be when the rain comes as well? As BP has gotten another 3-second time penalty. Now Ace just trying to keep up with Izzat. Heading through the final sector, both drivers. Izzat sitting fastest lap with a 38 flat. It's a very quick lap time from the Red Bull. Heading towards turn 5, the gap is 7/10. All that Ace needs to do is just try and keep up with the Red Bull. At the moment, the Danish driver has got the upper hand in terms of penalties, just needs to keep up with them and be in the right position at the end of the race. Fully capitalise on this scenario. And Izzat has got a bit of trouble in front of him in the form of Roscoe on 8th lap old hard tyres. Izzat can't afford to dilly-dally behind the McLaren. He needs to be assertive, but he doesn't need to be dangerous. He needs a place to get by sensibly. Roscoe locks up, and down the inside goes Izzat into P6. Ace will try and follow using overtake and DRS. Roscoe they are side by side through 14. Ace gets them around the outside. It looked as if Roscoe was going to open up the inside line there for Ace to go down, but Ace committed to going around the outside. See that Roscoe violently jerking to the right, trying to avoid the Haas. But in the end, there's no harm, no foul. These two continue to push their way up the field. Their next target is the Italian Alex Pato in P5. Heading through turn 1, 2, and then turn 3. Nice and gently on the brakes, gently on the throttle. Into turn number 5, 4th gear. Back on the throttle, short shifting to 5th air. Using overtake, using DRS. Alex shouldn't fight this and won't. Spilly has made a mistake at turn 13. Bringing out yellow flags. Now Ace needs to find a way past into turn 8. Can't find it here. Turn 9 perhaps. That's a big mistake from Alex. But Ace couldn't get himself into a position to capitalise. Through the Singapore sling. Ace just following behind. Not doing anything rash. A bit sideways there. Oh, and a big send down the inside. Alex tries to hold it around the outside, but the Haas has DRS and ERS to play with. He'll maintain 6th place, but Ace has lost 2.1 seconds to Izzat now. He's a fair way behind the Red Bull, who is now stuck behind eye contrast. Now for Izzat, he can afford to be patient, wait until the pitch straight, and then go for a move. He does need to be brash through here, though he's made a bit of an error through turns 20 and 21. But here we go, gets a better exit, uses overtake, uses DRS. Or maybe the straight isn't long enough to go for a move. He's going to shoot down the inside though, and he pulls it up. That was a very nice move there from Izzat. Had enough confidence on the brakes. Hit the apex and he didn't run wide to get himself another warning. ACW, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Alfa Romeo driver down in 13th at the moment. It's not a great race for our current championship leader. Sector 2 yellow flags, that is Spilly pulling off to the side. Trying to get out of the way of faster cars. Great deal of professionalism there from Spilly. Ace. Oh, this might be a brash move at the Singapore Sling. Oh, that was very close to the wall on the inside. If he made contact with that, that might be race over for Ace, but fortunately he didn't. Into the hairpin, but you can see how desperate he was. A fantastic run. What an overtake there from Ace. Using the grippiness of that medium compound tyre, he just shot past. High contrast there. A fine move indeed. But he's still a fair way behind Izzat. 2.5 seconds now, the margin. Yes, a very clean overtake there from IFR Ace. Quite impressive. You don't typically see too many clean overtakes around here at Singapore. It's good to see these guys on the medium tyre giving us a bit of a showcase of what you can do. But you need a couple of things in your favour, most notably a grippier tyre. Now, looking at the rest of the field, not a pretty sight at the moment. A lot of drivers fairly well spread out. ACW, though, is trying to overtake Yompalena for 11th. He's got DRS using overtake as well. Going to look down the inside into turn 7. And he gets it done. Roscoe Arm speeding in the pit lane as well. A 5-second penalty. As Roscoe Arm has elected to retire from the session. Bad luck run continues for VSR Roscoe Arm. It's not been a great season at all at the moment, but still a long, long way to go. So is this race. We haven't even hit the halfway mark yet. Still several laps away from that. Now Izzat is on the back of GeForce Wogboy and Rhythms F1, heading through the final sector, and into the pits goes Plebs. Rhythms a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Here comes Izzat down the inside using overtake and DRS. Gets by Wogboy with relative ease. Now his final target is just Rhythms in front. Heading towards turn number 7. Wogboy closes in on Izzat, but there's very little the Renault driver can do. The 3 yellow flags at Spilly. Got a puncture. Spilly. Explains the wretched time he's having at the moment. He's got 2 punctures actually, both on the right hand side. Into the pits he goes. Oh dear. As Izzat has gotten past Rhythms into the lead of the race. His task now, try and pull away from this man, IFR Ace, as much as he can. Try and minimize the effect of the penalties he currently has. BP and Alex, as Ace gets a penalty, his first of the night. That's a bit of a reprieve for Izzat. But this battle's still going on. BP and Alex. In front of them is Alex Parto and iContrast. Into turn 5, 4th gear. Doesn't cut too much of the corner there. But Alex has DRS, so he won't be able to attack. BP won't be able to attack. And Alex won't be able to attack. Well, Alex, as Alex Parto had DRS as well. the moment. Plevs overtaking Leo, that's at turn 7. Quite the common sight. Plebs is into 13th place on a set of hard tyres. Prime trying to get by Jompalainen for 11th. ACW on the back of the Gaming Wafer trying to overtake for 9th. And here comes BP down the inside of Alex into turn 14. Alex gets the switchback. Can he keep the position though? No, he can't. BP stays in front. So just a little exchange of position there. BP up to 7th. Alex Bomberg down to 8th. Ace on the back of Wogboy now. He'd be looking to attack into turn 7. But considering Wogboy has DRS, it's going to be a bit difficult for the Danish driver to try and get by. Heading into turn 5. Nowhere near close enough to attack. This will be hurting Ace every second he spends behind these two. He's every second lost trying to gain position on Izzat, so it's not looking good for Ace at all. ECW just completed a move on the Gaming Wafer. He is now into 9th. Prime on the back of Jompalainen, and they are still battling for 11th. Prime properly on the back of the Finn. Actually, they're both Finns now that I remember. As they head through the Singapore Sling over the Anderson Bridge, the gap is 0.3 of a second. Jompalainen has quite an awkward run at the exit, but so does Prime. And Plebs is steadily catching the two Finns. And we've got this train of cars. We still have it. By contrast, Alex Parto, BPV8, and Alex Bomberg, as Leo gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Heading to the final 2 corners of the racetrack, I contrast is still leading the train, doing a fine job. He's actually pulled outside of a second, Alex Parto. Can he maintain that going up to the second DRS detection zone at turn 4? Let's keep an eye on it. 9/10. No, it's not going to be enough, is it? We'll see. Does Alex get DRS here? No, he doesn't. It was just enough for my contrast. Now Alex is going to be a bit more vulnerable to BP behind. Same with Alex Bomberg. Oh, but BP overshoots a little bit there. Gets a 3-second time penalty. A costly mistake there from BP. See, they just overshot the corner, ran wide on the exit, got a warning and a 3-second time penalty along with it. Jompalainen and Prime still following each other. Plevs gaining. He's now within a second of the duo. He'll be looking to get invested in this fight and try and get past as soon as possible. Ace. He's gotten past Wogboy. Needs to get by Rhythms though. Gap has almost increased to 5 seconds between Ace and Izzat. Around the final 2 corners. DRS open, he's gaining and gaining. Not going to be close enough to attack though. Alex a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Alex with no DRS. This man's going to try and put down some sort of gauntlet to Alex. Though I think the Italian has just gotten DRS back. He has. That'll give him a little bit of a reprieve there. Knows now he doesn't have to worry too much about the car behind. Rhythms, on the other hand, does have to worry about the car behind. Ace is looking left, right and centre to try and get by Rhythms. At the moment, He hasn't been able to find a way past. Pleb's now into 11th place. Just overtaking Jumpelina just then. His next target will be Prime. BP on the back of Alex, who's now clawed back some time to high contrast. Gap is a bit less than half a second now between P5 and 6. The Ace will be desperately trying to find a way past now. Cannot afford to stay behind Rhythms any longer. Around the final two corners. It's starting to rain now, ladies and gentlemen. It is starting to rain. So the wet weather has come and there is a considerable amount of laps left in this race. There's Wogboy. He's in. What is this for? Is it for intermediates or is this for soft tyres? What's he in for? It's a set of mediums. Wing change. Away he will go as Ace has finally found a way past the Ferrari. He's now in second, 6 seconds behind Isaac Kush. Gaining away for setting fastest lap with a 1 minute 37.359. Sector 1, yellow flags, that's Wogboy. Making some sort of error. Bringing out the yellow flags. Alex has just been overtaken by ACW. So ACW has found quite a bit of ground in during his time on the hard tyre. Caught up quite a bit. BP, Alex. Oh, BP almost goes into the back of Alex. This will bring ACW even more into this battle. For what is fifth at the moment. Look at the carpet of rubber there. Just being laid at the apex of turn 16. There's plenty of it and off goes BP. And he's going to try and flick spin it round. It's a pretty decent flick spin, I must say. Very, very well done. Not so well done because of the fact that you got it in there, but very good recovery indeed. Only lost 2 positions because of that. But he does need to be a bit careful. His tyres will be a little bit shot. But that was a very nice flick spin to get the car back round. ACW trying to attack Alex here. Using DRS but no ERS. Not planning to overtake him just yet. On to the intermediate tyre goes Leo. He decides to blink first. Will this prove to be a successful strategy? I have absolutely no idea. Spilly has stopped at the Singapore Sling. Trying to let faster cars through. He's not having a great night at the moment. Is that Kush another penalty? 3 seconds next to their name. See whether or not the race leader will come in. Track doesn't look anywhere near wet enough as of yet. Stays out. What about Ace? Stays out as well. Same with Rhythms. What about Contrast in the other Ferrari? He's got Alex Pato and ACW behind. Staying out another lap. So this is just being a bit bold, is Leo right now. And look at the gap increase, 17.1, 17.4, 17.6, 17.8, 18 seconds. Yeah, it is definitely not time for Inters. Track needs to dampen up a little bit more. See here, ACW steadily gaining on Alex now. He is right in behind the AlphaTauri's gearbox as they head through turn 8. Down through turn 9. Alex misses the apex a little bit. They'll close the gap up. Into the Singapore sling. Through the chicane. ACW not being too aggressive at the moment. Third gear on the exit, tries to minimize wheel spin. Heading towards turn 14. Let's see how much deeper ACW can go on the brakes with those fresher hard tyres. Into the cascade of 90-degree corners in this third sector. Underneath the grandstand, Alex still holding on. Same with High Contrast, doing a good job, these two. Holding on, not making too many mistakes. And the trio still stay out. It is not ready yet. Still not ready. None of these guys are quite in a position to attack, though Prime is gaining on BP quite a bit. Oh dear, the Finn gets a 3-second time penalty. Multiple warnings, he cut a little bit too much there at turn 1. It's cost the Finn. Heading through turn 5, a big slide there from BP. Using DRS and overtake. Here we go, they're side by side through turn 6. And Prime gets it done well before the braking zone. Now there's Plebs just in behind in P10, ready to go on the attack. Not quite in a position to do anything at the moment. ACW has gotten past Alex as well. He's now behind High Contrast as they go through the hairpin of turn 13. Over another bridge into turn number 14. ACW, he just needs to be patient. Prime has gotten past Alex Bomberg as well. He's into 7th now. Sector 2, yellow flags. That is a Williams. Who is it? It is the Gaming Wafer. He has made a mistake. It's cost him a fair amount of time. And into the pits. This is a ballsy call. But he's willing to put it on the line for the sake of victory. Coming into the pits for a set of mediums. Huh. Well, how about that? So this is going to be that scenario where it's raining, but it never ever becomes wet enough, so then you go onto the intermediate tyre. I hate these conditions so much, as ACW has gotten past High Contrast. But this is a ballsy call from Ace. How long will it stay dry, quote unquote? When will it go to intermediate conditions? Is that cautious still going? Probably should pay attention to what our race leader is going to do. Spilly has had a bit of a spin. At turn 7 gets it going though. Eesh, wasn't great, but fortunately he's ghosting, so it's not too much of a problem. Underneath the grandstand, what does our race leader do? He knows his main rival in this race is just pitted. What does the Red Bull do? Stay out. Gets DRS as well, thanks to Leo. Going to utilize it down the pit straight. Alex sideways, incredibly sideways, at the exit of turn 19. None of the hard runners have pitted just yet. They are still going. Ace has just overtaken Alex, who has gone into the pits. The Red Bull driver has come in for a set of mediums as well. interesting. Very, very interesting. That really puts this man in a nice position if he can continue to do laps on this tyre. They'll be fairly shredded, as Billy has elected to retire. This man, what is Izzat's game plan right here? We've seen a few medium runners come in, put on a fresh set. Izzat is still fighting. Through the third sector. Rage just had some awkward runs right at the beginning of the race, was it? As Izzat, of course, does elect to pit. Others have had quite big moments over the course of this race, destroying front wings and whatnot. But Izzat is in. A set of mediums will go onto the Red Bull. And Rhythms is in as well. A set of softs. It's a gamble. This is a big gamble from the Ferrari driver. It will mean ACW is in the lead of this race. Can he take those tyres to the end? Still a long, long way to go. And look at Ace, the track position he has found on these tyres. Izzat is down in 6th place. The pit stops have played a crucial game in this race. And what about the weather? Will it eventually turn to intermediate conditions, or is it going to stay this horrible dry, wet sort of race? Sort of in the middle. As Izzat gets past Plez to P5, he's hunting down his main rival, IFR Ace. Gap is 2 seconds. Over the Anderson Bridge goes a trio of cars. One of them is Ace. He's stuck behind Alex, who has a massive moment there, Ace. That was huge. Using DRS, using overtake, looking around the long way. Can he make it stick? Oh, that's a great move in the wet. A lot of commitment there. But he's on way fresher tyres. He's able to pull that sort of stunt off. And Alex and now Izzat are starting to scrap. High Contrast is under attack here from Ace. High Contrast doesn't put too much of a fight. He understands the battle that he's in. Sector 3, yellow flags. That is Leo, the other Haas, who was spun out. But Ace now has the task of hunting down ACW. The gap is 6 seconds. Izzat Kush also has that task. High Contrast is still going. Same with Alex. Plevs, he's set to go to the end. He's got no troubles. Izzat a 3-second time penalty. Izzat has got pace, that is for sure, but these penalties are costly. Alex now down into 6th place as who's that? That must be Rage. Making a mistake at turn 13. And wing damage as well. As Plebs gets past High Contrast for 4th. Sector 1. That's a Renault. That is BP V8. He has spun at the exit of turn 5. Gets the car going. Still, everyone who finishes this race, they will all score points. All of them. Top 15 score points in Race Spec, not just the top 10. The gap has, oh wow, that has shrunk dramatically. Gap is now only 2.5 seconds between Ace and ACW. And when Ace and Izzat catch up, the Alfa Romeo will have very little in terms of defense. Rage trying to get into the pits. Or not. Not quite sure. ACW comes round. Again, lap 26, the rain is getting heavier. Through turns 1, 2, and then turn 3. Gaming Wafer, 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings as Leo has left the session. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin to finish this race. But now Ace in a really nice position here to attack. DRS open, using overtake, is gaining and gaining and gaining. It's a big send into turn 7. They make contact. And here comes Izzat. It is 3 wide heading towards turn 8. And Izzat comes out on top. Oh, contact though between Ace and Izzat. ACW has nowhere to go as they come through turn 9. Izzat now takes the lead away from both ACW and IFR Ace, though Ace is attacking into the Singapore sling. That never ends well. And fortunately, they come out relatively unscathed. That could have been quite nasty. But Ace now in second. He has lost track position to Izzat. That dive bomb has cost the Danish driver, as we have a retirement at the Singapore sling. That is Rage. He has crashed. How did he do that? So perhaps spun out, coming through the Singapore sling, hit the inside barrier, perhaps, and then got spat out towards the apex here at turn 11. I'm not sure, but that would be my guess. But drivers on intermediate tyres, they go into fair at the end of this one. Is that still going? Ace is still going. Same with ACW. Rhythms a drive-through penalty. The German has been copped a mega blow. This should have been a fantastic result for him, but he has thrown it away with 5 laps to go. Oh my goodness me. What an unfortunate set of circumstances for Rhythms F1. And he's going to lose positions to Wogboy and perhaps Gaming Wafer. Yes, he will. And here comes Alex Bomberg and Jon Palainen. And they get past as well. He's down to 9th. What a costly, costly error that was from Rhythms. But he just needs to get his head down and try and recover something. He's still in the top 10. He will be scoring points. This is the battle. The battle for the win. Currently, Izzat has got 12 seconds worth of penalties. Ace only has 3. All that Ace needs to do is keep up with the Red Bull, and he can claim victory here at Singapore. But in these conditions, where it's so treacherous and so easy to make a mistake, he can't afford to be complacent. Needs to tell himself, remain calm and hit your marks. Don't do anything stupid. Alex in P7, attacking the Gaming Wafer. Jon Palainen just in behind with no penalties. He's in a good place to take a top 6 finish. Into the pits. It's ACW. What is the Alfa Romeo up to? Is it a set of inters? No, it is a set of softs. What is ACW's game plan? I guess those hard tyres couldn't quite make it, so he had to bolt on a new set of tyre. He won't be able to go for fastest lap either because of the track condition. Oh, he made contact with her, and Rhythms is in the wall. They made contact at turn 3 that has just rubbed extra salt into the wound for the German. And wing damage to boot as well. Oh dear. Oh, and a big spin. How on earth did the Gaming Wafer do that? He must have made contact with somebody there. You don't just spin out by yourself on a straight. There's some late race shenanigans going on as BP sends it down the inside, and there's very little the Gaming Wafer can do. So Jompalainen then is now in a position for a top 4 finish and potentially driver of the day as well, though he does have an Alfa Romeo for company, who is on the attack. Around the outside, Jompalainen defends, gets a switchback, does ACW, and he gets past, and it stopped raining as well. It has stopped raining, so it was only going to rain for a brief period of time, and now it's just completely gone. It's disappeared. So ACW might be able to get that elusive fastest lap as he attacks Alex Bomberg here through the final 2 corners. As they now have 3 laps to go, ACW is now in 5th place. But the top 3 currently look pretty solid. It's going to be Izzat, Ace and Plevs on the podium, but these 2 aren't quite finished yet, though it definitely appears as if Ace is going to come out on top at the end of this. Though that gap has increased quite a bit, it's now seconds. He only needs to keep it within 9. I'm sure he'll be able to do that. Jompalainen still on the back of Alex. Onto the soft tyre goes High Contrast. Same with Alex, same with Prime. They're all in for softs. They're all going to have basically a qualifying shootout to see who can get fastest lap. Though this man will be pretty difficult to beat, as the leaders have just begun the second last lap, the penultimate lap of this Singapore Grand Prix. ACW is gaining on Wogboy. Now, is this a battle for position? It is. So Wogboy has got a genuine battle on his hands with ACW, though he may find it difficult to keep the Alfa Romeo behind. Alex Pato, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Something that he'll have to deal with come the checkered flag. And ACW 1 minute 36.573, setting fastest lap as you'd expect. BP in the pits. Front wing change. Look at that wing though, it looks intact. It must be lime green. New wing, new tyres, and away he goes. He was set for a top 10. He's now well outside of it. Alex Jompalainen into turn 7. Ooh, that was close, but Alex maintains position for now. And ACW gets past Wogboy with relative ease before the Singapore sling. Wogboy couldn't really put up too much of a fight there. He more or less got the white flag out and sort of surrendered it to ACW. But now Isaac Kush making his way around the final corner to begin the final 5 kilometers of this race. The gap between first and second, it is 5.1, and Izzat has just gotten another 3-second time penalty. His chances for a win are gone. They are completely out the window with that. The gap now in terms of penalties between Izzat and Ace is now 12 seconds. Even if Ace gets another penalty, it will be looking as if Ace will take victory. ACW setting fastest laps though with a 1:36.3. Interesting to see if any of the other drivers on the soft compound can reply to that. And in third place will be, most likely, Plevs. Mr. Race Spec himself on the podium. Kept out of trouble as he normally does. Gaining 7 positions over the course of the race, though Jompalainen has made the most. 10 positions from 17th to 7th, and he's going to gain another one with the penalty that Alex has. But here we go. Coming towards the end of an incredibly long Singapore Grand Prix. No safety cars. We've had a virtual though, but still. We've had mostly green flag running all the way through. Isaac Kush come around the final two corners to cross the line in first, but it will be IFR Ace who will take victory here on the streets of Singapore. Plebs making his way round the final sector. He will claim a podium finish. Around the final two bends, he will finish in P3. A fine recovery from ACW. And fastest lap again with a 1 minute 36.265. Reaffirming the pace that he showed in qualifying. Wogboy will finish in P5. Alex will cross the line in 6th. But it will go to Jompalainen, who I believe will get driver of the day. Started 17th, did the Finn, finishing 6th place, gaining 11 over the course of the race. And what a dreadful Singapore it has been for Rhythms. What could have been for the German? It would have been a top 5, maybe even a podium, who knows, but he will finish in 8th place. BP snags fastest lap at the death with a 35.328. Can any of these guys snag fastest lap? Prime will cross the line in P11. Just bring up lap data. It won't be Prime. By contrast, he won't get it either. Alex, bit of weaving there. He will cross the line in 13th. Leo is our final finisher in 14th. Fairly typical Singapore Grand Prix, and as I suspected, Jompalainen given driver of the day. Now it's time for the podium celebrations, and it is another win for IFR Ace. A fine drive, kept it out of trouble. Isaac Kush showed speed, but ultimately his accumulations of penalties led to the Red Bull driver's downfall. Kept out of trouble, Plebs, he will finish on the podium in 3rd. Another consistent drive from Mr. Race Spec. But there we go. So this will be win number 2 for IFR Ace. His first win coming in Canada. Second one of the season here at Singapore. Isaac Kush finishing in 2nd place. Started from pole. Led that race, but Ace did it in the pit stops. Isaac had pace, but those penalties really did hurt. Plebs in P3, a fine drive from him. ACW, a nice recovery to finish 4th after what happened earlier on. Wogboy in P5, Jompalainen, driver of the day. P6, Alex Bomberg in P7, Rhythms P8. Gaming away for 9th, BPV8. In 10th, with fastest lap as well. Prime in 11th, I Contrast in 12th, Alex Pato in 13th, Leo is our final finisher in 14th, and our retirements Rage, Billy, Roscoe Arm, and Trap Formula. Fairly long, fairly uneventful Singapore, but we kind of expect that with this sort of racetrack. I'll just quickly snag all the warnings so that if the stewards need to look at something, anything that happened during the race, it should be here on screen. Yeah, you see there, fair few drivers opting to hop onto the intermediate tyre proved to be a poor choice. That rain period was one of the most... what's the word I'm looking for? Different rain periods we've had, because it never went to intermediate conditions. It stayed dry effectively when it was raining. Or rather, it didn't get wet enough, so then you had to put on the inter. It's very strange. I've never seen it do that before. And then the rain just disappeared at the end. As if it never was there in the first place. It's very strange. But, anywho, that will end round 5 of the PlayStation RS2 Championship next week. we go to Formula One's Temple of Speed for the Italian Grand Prix at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, one of the most historically significant racetracks on the Formula One calendar. It's not the most technical racetrack, it's very limited actually in sort of technical difficulty. But what it lacks in that, it more than makes up for it with its historical significance and its atmosphere. I would imagine that the Italian Grand Prix would be the most passionate race to visit. To witness the Tifosi firsthand would be absolutely spectacular. Though we don't really get that in the game, this track still has its significance on the calendar. We'll see a lot of slipstream racing, a lot of DRS trains forming, and qualifying will be interesting as well to see how the teams work with each other in order to maximize qualifying as a whole, mainly using slipstreaming each other on flying laps to really try and maximize the lap time. But hopefully next week will be a little bit more interesting than this week. Singapore, in rather typical style, isn't the most entertaining race, but it's okay. We need a boring race every now and then to remind us that this is Formula One. So it's always nice to have that little reminder. Anyway, I think that will conclude it for this stream. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I've been the Snake, and we'll see you all next week for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Until then, goodbye.